Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Chasing Labels. This is, I would say, Chasing Labels number 6.
Yes.
Steven?
Spine number 6.
We're still in the spine numbers where we're limited edition collector's editions at this point. But this episode is going to be a bit of an addendum to our most recent episode, episode 5, or spine number 5, as Steven likes to say, because a bunch of movies releases dropped that we thought were going to drop in time for our previous episode, but instead they dropped like 2 to 3 days later. So that just seems to be the tale of the tape, and that's the way things go. But I am one of your co-hosts, Andrew Cabral, with always my friend, Stephen Billings.
Hello. Criterion, Indicator, they're here now, and we are here to devour them on this episode and get you excited.
Yeah, Criterion is kind of our, bread and butter, our main love.
Yeah,
it's not the end all
even Indicator for me now. I feel like I've become a pretty big fan of Indicator, and they're
Steven's
kind of becoming parallel for me. Yeah,
and both of those dropped within a timely manner. Well, Criterion was about 2 days after our previous episode, and then I think Indicator was dropped the following Thursday. Basically.
Yeah, a few more days after that. Indicator.
So they were all just kind of in tandem with one another. So we thought we would drop kind of a mid time frame episode about those releases, so we don't have to kind of miss out on the hype by the time we get to our next
and then
episode.
Also we expect more releases to happen next week, so we don't want to have a huge burden of an episode to be piled on us because I think Arrow is probably going to come out with their releases maybe by the next episode, and that would be just so much. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and as we all know, Kino's dropping new stuff every day. They've dropped a bunch of stuff within the week from the previous episode, so there's going to be tons of that stuff. There's going to be Warner Archive releases that hopefully will be official releases very, very soon. I don't know what's going on with them when it comes to their social media stuff, but it seems like everybody seems to know what's going on there except for them. Yeah. But who knows? But Steven, do you want to get into it right away? Because you want to talk about Eureka releases, right?
I do, but before we get into release stuff, I just wanted to give a couple little announcements about the podcast. We are getting a lot of good listening going on. A lot of people downloading, and we appreciate that, guys. Keep spreading the word. Please give us some of your interactions. Let us know how we're doing, how we can improve the show. And if you're interested in guesting, I'm taking numbers here. Anybody that's interested in wanting to speak their mind about physical media, I would love to have you on. But we got with expanding the podcast, we're trying to make it more available and more accessible for everybody. So I've gotten a couple of requests to a couple other platforms. I'm going to try to submit it to Spotify and also submit it to Stitcher. So there are 2 other platforms. If there's any other platforms that anybody thinks I should submit to, let me know, please. And the other thing is I want to make sure that there's like a central place that it's easy for everybody to listen to the podcast, just in case one of these platforms isn't working for you. So we're going to be creating a podcast website that will have all our episodes on it, and you'll be able to stream from the site if you have to. So that's what's in the works right now. And we got some other things going on, but I'm not at the liberty to talk about them yet. So, but with that said, let's get into some release stuff. Eureka. Eureka just dropped their slate. They got 3 more films they're going to throw at us. And starting with the first one we got here, we have the John Frankenheimer film, Prophecy, from 1979. I don't know if you've seen this one, Andrew.
I have not, but Stephen, I think you have.
Yes, I have. It stars Robert Foxworth and Talia Shire from Rocky fame. And basically this is a movie kind of about, the environment fighting back, which is kind of a type of film I love. These kind of like, animal attack / environmental kind of creature feature movies. And basically you have this lumber company that is kind of trying to push out the native population. and they want to, cut down a forest, and the native population's trying to keep them from doing that. So the lumber company hires these couple, environmental kind of activist type of people to go out. And I think just Robert Foxworth's character is his wife is played by Talia Shire, so she comes along with him, and he's supposed to go out there and evaluate the situation and give his recommendation. And while he's out there, come to find out there's this like mutant bear creature that has been created by apparently the waste from the lumber company, and it's killing everybody. So it's kind of an odd movie from John Frankenheimer when you think about. I mean, yeah, he's done some kind of like more B movies, but he's also the guy that did like Birds from Alcatraz and
I was gonna say it sounds odd, but it almost doesn't, because it feels like it's a very the backbone of the movie is like a political message with like environmentalism and stuff like that. And if you know John Frankenheimer, the guy basically loves to do political based movies. Specifically, and The Manchurian Candidate. Still is one of his best. He also did The Train with Burt Lancaster, Grand Prix.
Seconds.
Like you said, Birdman of Alcatraz, also with Burt Lancaster. He's one of my favorites. I still think Ronin is one of the best, probably, action movies of the 90s.
And that's one of his later...
Still has the best car chase.
And it's one of his later films.
Yes, one of his later films. He did pass away in 2002, I believe.
Yeah.
But... yeah, I'm always up for more John Frankenheimer.
Yeah, I think this previously had a release from Shout Factory.
Okay.
So that's your U.S. kind of version. I'm sure like whatever kind of slipcover that went with that Shout Factory release is probably completely gone by now.
Of course.
But with this one, you do get this new Eureka, which is a Regent B, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to have a 1080p presentation. It's got a new feature-length audio commentary by Richard Harlan Smith. You got a new feature-length audio commentary from writer Lee Gambin and Emma Westwood, and you also have new interviews with screenwriter David Seltzer, if that's how you say his last name. And
that's what it looks like.
Yeah, and a new interview with meme artist Tom McLaurin, a meme artist.
I think it says mime artist.
Mime artist, you're right.
Tom McLaughlin.
Interesting. And then that theatrical trailer that we need, and then
of course.
It's limited to 2,000 copies. So this does come with a slipcover and whatnot. So does this sound like something you might want to get?
Yeah, either this or the U.S. release is from Shout Factory. It looks like I'm just curious if there's what the special features look like. If they're different or the same, I don't really know.
Yeah, I'll have to do a comparison later.
You'd have to do a side-by-side comparison.
Usually there's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Eureka, though, is you do get, exclusive stuff. It looks like the audio commentary with Richard Harlan Smith is new. Another audio commentary that you mentioned is also new. The interview is new, and the other interview is new. And you do get the limited edition collector's book featuring writing and stuff, which is also exclusive to them. So it's one of those where like if you want everything, I guess you're gonna have to get both releases. But
that's how it always is.
Really
you got to make a choice, and
it's very
typically
true.
It comes down to if you have a Regent free player or not, and a lot of people.
Forgot about that.
This is an American film, so I would assume maybe a lot more of maybe there is some more special features on that disc versus the UK, maybe.
Yeah, I think they're just different, but I'll tell you this, though. The cover art for the Eureka one is much better than I think the cover art for the U.S. release, which I think is just like the poster, like
basically,
theatrical poster or something like that, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind that, but that just... the prophecy, the poster for Eureka, the cover art for Eureka looks amazing.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, the second film we got here is actually a collection of films. They're putting out, looks like maybe they're starting a series of releases called Early Universal. And this is their volume 1. This is their spy number 250 through 252. This is from directors ranging from 1926 to 1929, the silent era. And this has got 3 films from that era. One called Skinner's Dress Suit. the Shield of Honor and the Shakedown. I'm not familiar with these films, but it's this era is kind of hard to see everything. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't know how widely these have been available before because they are from the silent era, and those movies are most of that era is typically lost. But this is part of their Masters of Cinema series,
yeah,
which I think that's why it's numbered, and it's kind of cool that each movie gets its own number and not just the box itself.
yeah,
But you do want to mention that The Shakedown is directed by William Wyler, who many people will probably be super familiar with because he's a massive name. He directed what didn't he direct?
Best Years of Our Lives.
Yeah, Best Years of Our Lives, Ben-Hur.
What's the
Roman Holiday?
Yeah,
Big Country.
What's the war movie? Mrs. Miniver. Mrs. Miniver.
Oh yeah, was that him as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I have to look that up. But yeah, so he got his start in the silent era, and I actually haven't seen any of his silent movies.
Yeah,
so
I haven't either.
That movie in and of itself makes me interested in this box set.
Yeah, that's what a lot of these a lot of labels will do that sometimes. They'll have some really unknown stuff, but then they'll have that one movie in there. It makes me think of the recent Imprint film noir set. I wasn't very familiar with much of it, but then they had the one movie in there directed by William Wyler, the detective story. And I was like, God damn it.
I gotta get it now.
Gotta get it because it's a William Wyler film. Jesus. So they did it again with William Wyler here in this Eureka release. So I might have to get it. But
nice. And I'm always down for more silent films. I'm glad that they're getting more Blu-rays that's kind of slowly coming out when it comes to the silent era.
Yeah.
But I think we need more of it just for preservation's sake, to be honest with you, because these movies are really, really old, obviously.
It's not saying it here, but I'm wondering if all these have been rescored because as we talked about before, a lot of these silent films you can't find the audio tracks for them.
Yeah. Well, the special features kind of go into that.
Does it? I know it says who has scored them. But I don't know if that's... Yeah.
I don't think those are the original scores at all. I think they're either repurposed or redone or new scores. But it looks like these all got restorations by Universal Pictures, surprisingly enough. The Shakedown was restored in 4K, and Shield of Honor was restored in 2K. Skinner's dress suit was also restored in 4K. I don't know why they didn't go the extra mile for the Shield of Honor, but maybe the elements weren't as bad as the other ones or whatever. But it looks like the Skinner's dress suit is going to be a score by Leo Burenberg. Yep. The Shield of Honor by a score by Alex Kovacs. Now, that for some reason that name sounds familiar. And the Shakedown score by Michael Gatt. Audio commentary tracks on all three features. They don't tell you who, but that's kind of interesting. And then collection of additional materials from the early era of Universal Pictures with complimentary analysis by silent film experts and historians. A collector's booklet featuring new writing on the films included in the set. They're very cryptic about who's doing the special features on here. It's like, tell me who these experts are and the historians. Maybe
they're still working on it, but they know it's going to get done. So
that's probably true.
Yeah,
didn't even think of that.
But I'm interested in this just because that that era of cinema is always kind of uncovering more, and it's still ripe for discovery, I guess. So I might pick this up. So. All right, and the last one, I guess this is the hardest one to talk about because I really, really ain't familiar with this. But this one's called Running Against the Wind, and it's a relatively new film. Looks like from Ethiopia, from 2019, and it's from a director named Jane Philip Weil. And it's about two Ethiopian young men are racing to make their dreams come true. Two 12-year-old boys grow up together in a remote village until a single photo changes their lives forever. I won't read that whole paragraph.
It's pretty descriptive.
But yeah, it looks like it's maybe like a coming of age story of sorts.
Right.
It doesn't have much in the sense of special features.
Yeah, bare bones.
Yeah.
Pretty bare bones.
It just has a 1080p presentation and English subtitles and there's nothing. It's limited to 1,000
They
copies.
got a booklet. Yeah.
So, but
Wow.
yeah, we can't really say anything about this. This is very unknown to us. But it's out there, and maybe it's something you'll be interested in if you like to expand into other cultures, if you're into that stuff, which you should be. But that's it for Eureka on their announcements. And now we're going to move on to Criterion Collection. Andrew,
Here we go.
take us away.
Here we go. These are the August releases, August of 2021, for those of you listening to this in the future. And we have a list of 4 movies, which seems a little short. We usually get a couple of more releases, but perhaps they're going to be dropping a box set announcement soon.
There's been some rumors.
There's been some rumors.
What was the rumor you heard?
I heard a Melvin Van Peebles box set.
Yeah.
Not out of the realm of possibilities. Kind of a collection of his films from like 60s and 70s and 80s, kind of in that era.
Okay.
I don't remember where I even heard that. It may have been in one of the groups.
I think the Criterion group somebody in the Criterion group might have put that down.
It may have been me scrolling at 4 or 5 a.m. and not knowing what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
Those are what we call the surreal hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the David Lynch hours.
That's David Lynch hours. But we do have a group of 4 films here. First up here is, Steven should probably be talking about this film, and this is Afterlife by Hirokazu Koreeda. And of course, Steven's super happy about this because he just wants more of these movies.
Yeah,
in the collection or just available in general here.
If you go back a couple episodes ago, you'll know that this is in my fantasy label that I created as my number 1 title release. So, I mean, yes, I'm a little upset that Criterion stole the licensing from me. I'm pretty sure I had that. I thought I had that in the bag, but I guess not. But yes, I'm super happy. I already pre-ordered this, and to be honest, I don't typically pre-order Criterions because they're usually around for a while, so I don't feel the need to grab them before anybody else does.
They're not typically limited. If they are limited, no one really knows what the number is other than people working there. But yeah, this is Hirokazu Koreeda's film from 1998. It's in the 1:66:1 aspect ratio, which is kind of always interesting. But it has a new 2K restoration approved by writer-director Hirokazu Koreeda with uncompressed monaural soundtrack on the Blu-ray, audio commentary featuring film scholar Linda Ehrlich, new interview with Koreeda, stills photographer, cinematographer Masayoshi Sukida, and cinematographer Yutaka Yamazaki. Has deleted scenes, a trailer, and then plus an essay by novelist Viet Thanh Nguyen, I think. I think that's how you pronounce that.
I can't help you.
Yeah. New cover featuring photography by Masayoshi Sakita, designed by Eric Skillman. So this is a film you've seen before, Steven.
Yes, I love this movie.
Do you own it in a different version? Or you just have seen it?
I think it's a Japanese release that I have.
Okay.
So I mean, it's perfectly fine. It's a perfectly fine release, but this is going to have a new restoration, so I'm sure it's going to be a little bit sharper looking image. But yeah, this is a film I love. Koreeda is kind of a filmmaker I have grown to really love over the last couple years. He's a lot of times compared to like Ozu, type of filmmaker that's very much kind of meditative, typically surrounds his films around families, unconventional families. And this movie kind of deals with, I think, a little bit of that, and also a little bit of like kind of the crossing of lines between, life and the power of cinema, the power of movies. And I don't want to give too much. I mean, I talked about it on a couple episodes ago, but very much the movie is about literally going into the afterlife and how, whoever's the people in the afterlife that you meet are there to help you create the lasting memory that you'll have for the rest of your afterlife. And they do that with filmmaking. They literally put together the scene that you're going to see in the rest of your life, and they try to film it for you so that you can have it. And it's a very a very kind of wondrous movie. I love it.
It does sound very intriguing.
I'm telling you, man.
to say the least.
I think you're gonna love this
want
movie
it.
when you finally watch
Yeah,
it.
I want it. Too bad it's not coming out during the Barnes and Noble sale, because that would be high up on my list.
Yeah.
But this is not the first time Koreeda has been in the collection. Still Walking,
Yes.
which is actually, I think, no, I've seen two of Koreeda's films. I've seen Still Walking and Shoplifters. So Still Walking is part of the collection. I still need to get it.
Yeah.
I still need to get it. But that movie is fantastic.
I feel like
as well.
Shoplifters needs to be the next one coming into the collection because
Shoplifters needs a Blu-ray release
Yeah,
here in
yeah.
general. I don't know what the heck's going on.
yeah,
This
it
is
needs
ridiculous.
to be on the collection in the collection. Yeah. But
Well, moving on. Next up is a documentary by the great documentarian D.A. Pennebaker, and this is the original cast album, quote, Company. And this is for those of you who don't know who D.A. Pennebaker is, he's got several films in the collection.
yeah.
He's got the Bob Dylan documentary, Don't Look Now, the Complete Monterey Pop, all that stuff is him. The Town Bloody Hall and the War Room, which I actually have seen, is all part of the collection. But he's a famous documentarian, and this film is actually really, really short. This film
Yeah.
is only 53 minutes long, but Stephen, you have seen it.
Yes. Yeah, it's a great you could almost say like it's a great little like special it could almost be just a special feature. But
Right.
it really is it really takes you into the creative process and the massive talent of the people that are behind these things. Basically, this whole movie is like typically with a Broadway production, a lot of times they'll do like a recording session to get it in its pristine condition with their original cast members. And this happens apparently like the Sunday after the opening night. I guess that was on a Friday. So like right after something's premiered, they go into the studio and try to get this laid down in its best condition. Now, of course, this was 1970. So
Right.
recording equipment was a lot different back then than it was now, where you can Pro Tools the shit out of it. And like, and you can like really get in there and like, you don't have to like redo something from the beginning every time. Like everything's on like tape and you got to cut things. It's not as easy. Most of the time you want to get it all done in one take and you want to,
Especially theater.
yeah.
I mean, you're usually dealing with, it's all stagey. Even musicals, everything is just on a stage.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of. I mean, today, if you've seen like Hamilton, of course they have multiple camera setups and the editing and all that kind of stuff to make it a little more, movie type, so that when you're watching it at home or whatever, you feel like you're watching more of a movie than a stage play. But yeah, this is fascinating. And even though the the documentary is only 53 minutes long, there is a wealth of special features on here. So let me go into all this. So there's a new restored 4K digital transfer supervised by Chris Hegedus
Yeah.
and Nate Pennebaker with uncompressed monaural soundtrack on Blu-ray. New audio commentary by composer lyricist Stephen Sondheim. Audio commentary from 2001 featuring director D.A. Pennebaker, actor Elaine Stritch, and Broadway producer Harold Prince. New conversation among Sondheim orchestrator Jonathan Tunick and critic Frank Rich. A new interview with Tunick on the art of orchestrating, conducted by author Ted Chapin. Never before heard audio excerpts from interviews with Stritch and Prince, conducted by D.A. Pennebaker and Hegedus, I don't know. Anywho, that happened in 2000. Original cast album, quote-unquote co-op, a 2019 episode of the TV series Documentary Now that parodies the film. That's very interesting. Reunion of the cast and crew of original cast album co-op recorded in 2020, featuring director Alexander Buono, writer-actor John Mulaney, actors Renee Elise Goldsberry, Richard Kind, Alex Brightman, and Paula Pell, and composer Eli Bolin. So I guess it's the cast of that Documentary Now episode. Feels like it's them talking about. Yeah, it feels like it's them talking about I guess them doing that parody or something like
Yeah.
that. And then, of course, there's English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, plus an essay by author Mark Harris. So yeah, there's a lot on here. Apparently, this is obviously well known. If there's a parody of something,
Yeah.
the something that you're parodying must be at least well known for people to understand it.
It's it's a movie. Watching it really did. I mean, I'm not like nearly as I wasn't as deep into like I never was a theater person. I was a chorus guy. I was in chorus, so some of this, and I've been in studio sessions and stuff like that. Kind of hit me in the in home because I've been in sessions and it's been hard to do something. I've had to keep doing retakes and it can become very tiring, and you see that in this film a few times where they're trying to hit something and they're also trying to, of course, get the emotionality that you're trying to capture the emotionality you would do when you're doing the play. You're doing it on stage, and it's hard to sometimes do that when you've been in a studio for hours upon hours, middle of the night. Like it's and sometimes you got to come back to it later. But it's great watching some of these people do this, and it's like they're still doing the play on stage. That's how they can get to that point. They're like being very animated while they're recording the songs, and it's great. It's very very entertaining and very just to see the talent that's involved in there. It's great. So
Nice. So, moving on now to the next release, and this is Ashes and Diamonds by Andre Vida. And this is part of his war film. Yeah, the final film is celebrating war trilogy. So this is the last film in that trilogy. They're kind of a loosely connected trilogy. They all take place during World War II, during the German occupation of Poland, because he's a Polish director. And I think a lot of his films throughout his career were dealing with like Polish culture and identity of the Polish people and all kinds of stuff like that. But these films all take place during that obviously very traumatic time period, if you will. And I decided to prepare for this episode by watching all of these movies back to back to back.
Yeah.
And it is quite harrowing. And these movies are they're like dark, cold, depressing, heavy movies. And this is the last one in this trilogy. And it's fantastic. They're all really fantastic movies. And I've always heard of this director, but I didn't watch any of his stuff until now. So that was a great discovery for me. So this film, like I said, takes place during the German occupation of World War II, but this takes place at the very end of the war. It's actually like the last day of the war. Like, there's a scene in this film where there's a radio announcement and Germany has surrendered. Like, it's like that day. And this film follows these two people who are assassins, basically. And they're basically like contracted, or they're told that they have to kill this kind of communist like political leader type guy who he's in Warsaw. And basically it's them, it all takes place in one night, and it's just them like traversing that decision whether to do it or not, getting orders, and it's them like kind of dealing with moral crises of the times, but it also has the backdrop of this like political fate of the nation of Poland. Like, will it continue to be democratic? Will it fall into the communist hands because Russia has kind of like taken over Poland now? And it's a really, really fascinating film, and it's gorgeously well shot. Just wonderful black and white. This film came out in 1958, I believe. So we're talking like 13 years after the war. Those wounds are still there. And what I love about these films in general is they look so lived in. They look real. Like, you're in the rubble, you're in the grime, you're in the dirt in these movies, and just feels real. And this film definitely has that in it. And it's a really great film. But that's kind of the film in general. This film you can watch online if you want to, or you can just wait for this release. I kind of wish they would have released all three of them together.
Yeah. Your description of this film makes me really want to watch it. And it does look like, if you don't have a Criterion channel subscription, it also is on HBO Max apparently.
Okay.
So if you have one of them, you can watch it there streaming right now. Or like you said, just wait for this release. It sounds great. And I like, it kind of made me think about what was the recent film, Cold War.
Okay.
Wartime. It happened. The film takes place at the end of the war, right? Isn't it World War II also?
Yeah, it does.
But that one's of course a love story.
Yeah, and it takes place over like a series of years. This is like one night.
Well, yeah. I'm just thinking about like the time period, and it happens right at the end of World War II when people are kind of people are like disbanded from where they don't know where to go, and they're like, these two people meet and then they fall in love, and then it's about of course it's more sprawling and a little bit, this is more focused on.
Well, this does have
period.
a love story in it.
Oh, does
so
it? Okay,
you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, this has like one of the assassins like falls for this barmaid woman, and they have like this kind of brief romantic thrill, but it makes him question like what he is doing morally. It makes him question whether he wants to do it, or perhaps have a happy life with this woman. But he's torn between these two things.
Yeah.
And it's really fantastic. The cover art for this is amazing as well. There's literally a moment in this movie where they go to like, I guess, like a bombed out church, and then there's just this crucifix hanging upside down.
Yeah.
And it's just like half destroyed, and they're walking like behind it, and it's kind of like, that foreground background shot type stuff. It's really fantastic. I tell you, these movies are really great.
I think the other thing too is that Cold War is also directed by a Polish filmmaker. So
very true.
That was the other thing.
Polakowski.
Yeah. So it's in black and white.
Yeah.
So it really makes me think about that. Like that would be a great double feature maybe or something. But
yeah. But getting into the details about this movie is on the Blu-ray, a new 4K restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. On the DVD, there's a restored high-definition transfer. But you want the Blu-ray, come on.
Yeah, of course.
Not messing around now. Audio commentary from 2004 featuring film scholar Annette Instorff. A new video essay by Instorff on the film's legacy. It's on the Blu-ray only. See, that's more than enough to get the Blu-ray. Andre Vida on Ashes and Diamonds, a 2005 program featuring director Andre Vida, second director Janusz Morgenstern, and film critic Jerzy Plazuski. And then there's archival newsreel footage on the making of the film, rare behind the scenes production photos, publicity stills, and posters. Apparently that's on the DVD only. What are we doing here? And a new English subtitle translation, plus an essay by film scholar Paul Coates.
Yeah.
And this is actually so the other two were spine number, I think, 1089 and 1090, and this will be spine number 285 because it's keeping the same numbering from the DVD. So for those of you keeping track at home. So that's Ashes and Diamonds. And there's a wonderful poem in there about ashes and diamonds that leads to the title of the movie.
Oh, okay.
But next, the next film is obviously the most recent film in all of these we've been discussing. And this is a film that I was really surprised that it's getting Criterion release.
Yes and no. I mean, it's like, we've talked about it before, Netflix has been kind of teaming with Criterion with some physical media. So
Very true. But Beasts of No Nation, and this is the Cary Fukunaga film from what year was it? 2015. Seems like a lifetime ago. And this film is fantastic. This was one of the first Netflix. It wasn't an original film because I think they bought it from Sundance or some festival. But this was one of the first films that they had put out, that they had acquired, where it was like, okay, now Netflix is getting in the acquisition game of movies, and they've done that ever since. Now they're a huge player.
Well, it was also like the first. It was like, I remember it being kind of a big deal because it was all about the Oscars and getting into the Oscar game, like getting nominated for stuff. And people felt like this was like the first movie that really had a chance to get nominated. Like you can't say, oh, this is just a Netflix movie, because technically it wasn't made by Netflix. But this isn't just a movie on streaming that, can just be overlooked. It's too good. So
it led to the question of Netflix putting movies in the theater.
yeah,
And because you need to have the movie in the theater to qualify for any type of awards, I think. And this was one of them that needed to do that. And they kind of do like short runs now for qualifications. And Beasts of No Nation is fantastic. It is it's a movie that takes place. It's about the life of like a child soldier in Africa, and just like that hardened, like horrific life that they have to lead, and just like the loss of innocence and all that kind of stuff. I remember Idris Elba's in this movie, and he's harsh.
yeah,
He's an amazing performer. He's like this ruthless commander, and he's just fantastic in this movie. But when it comes to the contents, there's a 2K digital master approved by director Cary Fukunaga with 5.1 surround DTS HD master audio soundtrack on the Blu-ray. New audio commentary featuring Fukunaga and first assistant director John Mallard. 2 new documentaries on the development and making of the film featuring interviews with Fukunaga, author Uzodinma Iweala, actors Idris Elba and Abraham Atta, and producers Amy Kaufman, Daniela Taplin Lundberg, and Riva Marker. A new conversation between Fukunaga and producer and cultural commentator Franklin Leonard. A new interview with costume designer Jenna Egan. A trailer, English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, English descriptive audio, plus an essay by film critic Robert Daniels, who is someone I follow on Twitter.
Oh,
so
okay.
he had hinted that he was working on something, like he tweeted out like a month ago, and apparently this was what he was working on. So that's this movie, and I'm glad that it's coming out, because Netflix movies typically don't get physical media releases for the most part. They're starting to come out now, like Steven said, with some being put out through the Criterion Collection, like The Irishman, but for the most of their stuff doesn't come out. But their TV stuff comes out, which is weird to me, because like TV's
some of
really
it
meant for
does.
streaming now.
Some of it does.
You know? Yeah. Some of it does, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not seeing any, Sex Education? Does that have a Blu-ray for the seasons?
I don't think so, no.
Because I love that show, but they don't.
Yeah. That's also like a BBC release, but like all the seasons of Orange and the New Black got released. I don't even know. I don't know if BoJack Horseman got released. Maybe DVDs, but like I'm just going off now. You have to reel me in, but yeah, I'm glad to see that they're starting to put out, but they haven't put out like the Coen Brothers film that came out a few years ago.
Yeah, Buster Scruggs needs to get needs to get a release.
Ruining my Coen Brothers section of my collection.
Yeah,
can't be complete now.
I think you're gonna see it. It's Coen Brothers movie. You got to put it in. It's got to have a release somewhere.
Because
they're very much proponents of shooting on film, if I'm not mistaken. So
right.
I'm sure they're all about physical media releases too. So I would say it's gonna come eventually. But yeah, I'm excited about this. I've heard that the shooting of this film was pretty rough. Apparently, I think maybe it was Cary Fukunaga that actually got malaria, maybe at some point, or maybe it was like the camera operator or somebody. But I think Cary had to also jump into like the cinematography too. He had to do some of that himself. But like it was apparently a very harrowing shoot. Like it was just going out into the jungles, and it was rough, but it shows in the film. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it,
right?
But I remember being really blown away by it, and it being very powerful. And the kid is amazing. The kid's,
yeah, Beast. Yeah, he's really fantastic. I was just looking up Cary Fukunaga's IMDb page just to see what he's been up to or is doing.
Well, he's been in and out of projects. I know he directed the recent Bond film.
Yeah, which is not out yet. No Time to Die, which is coming out, I guess. Did they push it till next year? I don't remember anymore.
I think it's end of this year, November or something. Maybe. Yeah,
but he did. Yeah. Of course, he got well known doing the first season of True Detective.
Yeah, he also did Jane Eyre. This is his first movie.
Oh yeah.
But this was kind of his big, I think, where people really started to take him seriously was after this movie, as a filmmaker and not just a TV. Because True Detective is basically like mini movies.
That whole first season is like an 8-hour movie.
Yeah, but I really like him as a filmmaker, and This is one of his good works here. So I'll be getting this in my collection. Definitely.
Okay. And now we move on to the last one chronologically when it came to releases. And this is Indicator.
Yeah.
Or Powerhouse. Powerhouse Films.
Yes.
However you like to call it.
Yeah.
And we have 4 releases from them, but 2 we touched on last week.
Yeah, we got more info
leaked.
on them now, so we can talk about them a little bit more. But
yes, we can.
We'll go through them. Corruption. We'll go ahead and talk about the 2 that we've already kind of talked about. Corruption.
Yeah, we'll just go through the deets on those.
Yeah, which is a 1968 film. This is the Peter Cushing film we talked about last week. Which is about a doctor it's kind of like I said, it's kind of like Eyes Without a Face. It's a doctor who's got a model girlfriend who gets her face scarred. He tries to fix it, and he goes through some crazy things to try to do that.
Yeah, goes down a dark path.
Yeah, he does. But,
things we do for love.
Yeah, things we do for love. So this is going to have a 2K restoration from the original negative for both versions of the movie. You got the theatrical version, which is 92 minutes, and then you have the more graphic international version, which is 91 minutes. Does that bother you when you see the different version shorter than the original version?
I'm curious, what did they cut out? If it's supposed to be more graphic, wouldn't you
Maybe
be
they cut out
stuff?
some of the go-go dancing.
Oh my goodness! Imagine this. Imagine Peter Cushing in a hippies club party scene with a bunch of young people.
Yeah,
and he sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. He's like, "Why is my grandfather here?" Oh, that's my husband. What?
Dude, he's at least 20 to 30 years older than everybody in that scene.
Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, I've seen the original theatrical version. I'm assuming.
I think that's the one I saw too.
Yeah, so I can't wait to watch the graphic version. So you got original mono audio. You got audio commentary from Peter Cushing with biographer David Miller and English Gothic author Jonathan Wrigley from 2013. You got the BEHP interview with Peter Newbrook from 1995, career-spanning audio interview with producers and cameraman made as part of the British Entertainment History Project, featuring Newbrook in a conversation with Alan Lawson and Roy Fowler. We have the Guardian lecture with Peter Cushing from 1986. Audio recording of an interview with the legendary actor recorded by the National Film Theatre of London. You have the interview with actor Philip McCunnan from 2021. You have Billy Murray, which when I first saw this, I thought it said just Bill Murray. And I thought, why is Bill Murray getting interviewed for this movie?
I don't know, just put it on there.
Yeah. There should just be a Bill Murray commentary on every movie. But interview with Billy Murray from 2012. You have interview with actor Jane Waters from 2012. You have What Happened to Wendy Vernals from 2013, an interview with English actor Stephen Laws. Introduce Corruption from 2021, appreciation by the acclaimed horror author. You have The Unkindest Cuts from 2021, a critic and writer, Michael Brook, of the history of surgical horror. That sounds cool. This one is cool. Edgar Wright trailer commentary from 2013. Wonder when he. I wonder if that's already online somewhere. It's a short critical appreciation. Then you got the UK trailer, the US trailer, TV spots, radio spots, image gallery, directing shooting gallery. You have the new and improved English subtitles for deaf and hard of hearing. You have limited edition 80-page book with essays by Laura Main, archival articles and interviews, and an overall contemporary critical responses and film credits. Limited edition. Exclusive replicas of production stills, and you have a UK home video release. I guess that's the premiere, limited to 5,000 copies, which is kind of low for more.
Is that low?
For more recent ones? Because a lot of times they'll be I've seen 6,000, and then it's so popular that it goes up to 10,000.
Yeah, I've seen 6,000 for the box sets, but I have my copy of Road Games next to me, and it says 5,000.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I have number 1783 or 1,783 out of 5,000.
It's you'd think the movie box sets have more than one movie. you'd think they would be even more limited. The one that's just one movie, you'd think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess a lot of times they decide to add more if it's really popular. So this being a Peter Cushing film, I think there's a possibility this could go fast for people that are like Hammer. I mean, this isn't a Hammer horror movie, but
this isn't a Hammer film.
But it is,
feels like one.
it does kind of play like one. But this is Region B, so be ready for that.
Is that it's Region? Yeah, Region. A lot of their stuff right now is Region B. I haven't seen an all region release from them in a while. I don't know if just the stuff they're getting is, because they've expanded so much, is more, the licensing is more like people have access to it more.
Yeah.
More so, what am I trying to say here?
I don't know.
I have no idea what I'm trying to say. Basically, I guess maybe their earlier releases, when it came to licensing, it was easier access.
Maybe.
Or it was more wide open in terms of availability, as opposed to some of these movies are more specific. So you're only getting access to Region B. But for those of you out there who don't have region-free players, I highly recommend getting one because it's worth it for these releases alone, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
it really is worth it.
You hear us talk about these and you get all excited, you better decide that, now to go, because it happens to a lot of people. They hear about people getting excited about these movies and they can't watch them because they can't, play them.
Oh, I saw this the other day where someone tweeted out where someone, it was someone who's like us, collector, anywho, where one of their non-collecting people, we call them normies around here.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Some people who aren't in the game, I guess. They
I don't say that, by the way. That's something.
Yeah, no, this is just me. But I say that in jest, of course.
Yeah.
But someone who's not aware of region locking and stuff like that bought an edition of a movie that they couldn't play because it was, Region 2 or Region B. And it's if you don't know that, you kind of, you can kind of screw yourself, especially if you pay a lot of money. But to be honest, region-free players are not as expensive as they used to be. You can get one now for the same price you would buy a Blu-ray player for, $100. You could probably get one for.
Yeah.
I mean, Blu-ray players are now much cheaper, but $100 seems to be an average.
Yeah.
From what I've heard.
Oh, yeah.
Not like when I bought one 10 years ago for $300. And
that's rough.
It's gigantic and clunky, and there's no menu screen for it. It's just put the disc in and it plays.
Yeah,
and
you can get an
LG,
a region-free LG player that's a little small little thing for $120, and it works great. And
it works, and usually they just modify players that they sell in stores.
Yeah,
there's no special model that you need to buy. But anyway, that's just region locking. So next, Steven?
Yeah, we got the other one that was leaked from last time was The People Next Door. We had Putney Swope, which was also hinted at, but I got obviously that's that's for later down the line apparently because it didn't come out for August.
Completely forgot about that.
Yeah, but we have The People Next Door that's getting released. These are all coming out on August 16th, by the way. This is directed by David Green from 1970. So we're going to get a new 4K restoration from the original negative. Original mono audio commentary with actor Ritania Alda and film historian Lee Gambin from 2021. You got Vic Pratt and David Green from 2021, an appreciation of the British filmmaker's eclectic career. You have the original theatrical trailer, image gallery, new and improved English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. You get a limited edition booklet with essays from Peter Tungnett and overall reception of the controversial TV play on which the film is based on, an archival interview with star Eli Wallach, a look at the film's soundtrack album, and an overall contemporary critical response and full film credits. This is the UK Blu-ray premiere, and it's limited to 3,000 copies, Region B locked. And as we said last time, this is getting a Scorpion releasing, which is a Region A, I'm pretty sure. So you can take your pick there.
Yes, you can.
And but I'm a fan of Indicator. They're the ones I kind of always lean on because I appreciate all the extra care they usually put into all their releases. So I mean, I bought the bundle. This is going to be coming to me. Anything more on this?
I really like that cover.
You like the cover?
I really like the cover. And yeah, I'm digging it. I'm curious, 3,000 copies. Okay.
That's what most single releases get, is 3,000 copies usually.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next film in this slate is one that it's not one that was really on my radar, but I'm glad that it is now, because I got the chance to watch it beforehand, and I really liked it. And I think you did too.
I did. I watched it as well.
The Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Motor Kings, which is a baseball film.
It is.
Slash kind of like I would say a social drama, starring
Comedy.
Billy D. Williams, James Earl Jones, Richard Pryor's in it. And basically, you could say this is kind of like, you could almost say this could be paired with the Penny Marshall film, League of Their Own.
A League of Their Own. Yeah.
It's very much kind of the same formula, except this came out before A League of Their Own, where you got a team. This is set during the
1930s.
30s, yeah, and this is during the Negro Leagues.
Right. This was before
era.
the integration of African American athletes into Major League Baseball with Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
In I think 1947 that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the film is. I really enjoyed watching it.
I did too. Yeah.
Basically, Billy D. Williams, kind of like a star pitcher of one of these teams in these leagues.
Yeah, he's kind of like apparently he's kind of like mirroring Satchel Paige, the pitcher from that era. Yeah.
And basically, to get out under kind of like the ruthless thumb of the owners of these leagues, he decides to start up his own all-star traveling team, basically.
Yeah.
And they're gonna play whoever, wherever. And what ends up happening is they kind of become like this almost like performance group, if you will, like almost like a Harlem Globetrotters, if you will,
definitely,
where they kind of like do like tricks and gimmicks and all kind of stuff like that while traveling around kind of like the Midwest and the South and just playing in wherever. And it's them trying to combat like the owners who like are trying to shut them down, but them also kind of infighting with themselves to keep the team going. James Earl Jones I thought was fantastic in this movie, as well as Billy D. Williams, and this is pre-Star Wars Billy D. Williams.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got two Star Wars actors right before Star Wars working together.
Yeah, this is 1976, I believe.
Yep.
And yeah, this is directed by John Badham. And John, I think that's how you pronounce the name, Badham?
Yeah.
It's Badham. I'll say Badham.
Badham, yeah.
And this is actually even before he did Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, he did Saturday Night Fever the next year.
The next year, which is, I think, the film he's probably most
He did Short Circuit,
for.
man. He did Short Circuit.
He did do War Games as well.
Yeah.
But he also did Dracula with Frank Langella. And he's still actually working today.
Cool.
He's doing a lot of television these days. He directed 9 episodes of Supernatural.
There you go. There you
go. And yeah, he had a heck of a run in the mid 70s through the 80s of like kind of like I would say like pop culture defining movies, if you will.
Yeah.
Like War Games, Short Circuit, Saturday Night Fever as well. And then his career kind of like I guess tapered off in the 90s. But he was still working.
He just seems like he shifted to the TV side.
Yeah. I think, by the late 90s and the 2000s, more TV work. He did direct Point of No Return, which I believe is the American version of La Femme Nikita.
Oh, okay.
That's what I remember it being. But yeah, he directed this movie right before his career kind of took off. And yeah, I really enjoy this. I like this movie enough to the point where I kind of really want this release.
Yeah, like you said, James Earl Jones, it's nice when you see James Earl Jones, like young James Earl Jones, because we're so used to seeing him like kind of like Sean Connery or kind of like some of these like actors that like Steve Martin always seems like he's old. But like James Earl Jones, like it's when you see vibrant James Earl Jones, he's like a powerful presence. Like
he's an amazing actor.
Yeah, he really is. The eyes, he's got the eyes that really like.
He has got that commanding voice, which I think he's been doing voiceover work now forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's also done like theater work, like Broadway stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in.
He
was
did
in, like,
Fences, didn't he?
Yeah, he was in the original like Fences play, I think, in the '80s.
Yeah.
He played the Denzel Washington character,
Yeah.
and you can actually see that clip of that on YouTube. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, this release does have a few, not a lot in terms of comparison to the other releases that we've just gone over. But Steven, do you want to go through this?
Yeah, we got a high definition remaster. You got original mono audio. You got audio commentary from director John Badham, which is cool, from 2020. I'm about to say 2020, 2007.
I know.
You got an interview with actor Billy D. Williams from 2021, which is great.
Nice.
Original theatrical trailer, John Badham trailer commentary from 2013, radio spots, image gallery, new and improved English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, and we got the limited edition booklet with a new essay from Rebecca Nicole Williams, archival reports of promotional baseball match between the casts of the Bingo Long from the movie and from the Bad News Bears. Interesting.
Oh, wow.
I can't wait to see that. Yeah. And an archival interview with Billy D. Williams, an overview of the contemporary critical responses and full film credits. World premiere of the Blu-ray, so this is the first time on Blu-ray.
First time ever.
Limited to 3,000 copies, region B locked. So yeah, saying that they played a game with the Bad News Bears is hilarious. And I was thinking, watching this movie, that it does have kind of a Bad News Bears vibe of sorts, just with adults, where it's very playful. Of course, you have Richard Pryor in there, so he's definitely playing up a lot of comedy.
A lot of comedy.
He's playing a Cuban guy, first of all.
I think he's pretending to be Cuban.
Is he pretending to be Cuban, or
I think he was pretending to be Cuban to try to pick up.
You know what?
I'll pick up a woman.
Well, no. The thing is I remember reading into this movie a little bit, and it talked about how some of these players were reflective of real people, and like I said, Satchel Paige is kind of the Billy D. Williams. I think James Earl Jones is kind of like Josh Gibson, who was a catcher from the Negro Leagues, and I think there was a player apparently. That was technically one of the first African American players to make it into the majors. It was like 1905, and he pretended to be Puerto Rican, and that's who he's like. Okay. Pretending to. That's who he reflects in real life. So, but then there's a character in the movie played by what's his name, Joffrey Siege Brown, who is kind of, I think, playing the Jackie Robinson character that at the end of this film gets hinted at going to the majors. Right.
And they even mentioned that he's going to the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Well, I mean, it's not a baseball podcast, but I'm just like all of the early records and all that kind of stuff was probably not truly valid because the best athletes were subjugated to being in these leagues and not playing in the Major League Baseball and whatnot. And the film doesn't really go into that a lot in terms of, but they do hint at a lot of kind of racial type themes and stuff like that. Yeah. Especially like you just said, like towards the end, like even the other players are like, yeah, no, the white people are not going to let you play in this league and stuff like that. But it's a really fascinating movie, specifically being set in the 1930s, right, like a decade before the integration of baseball, and being this kind of drama and comedy. And the film is really, really good. I was really surprised how great this movie is.
Yeah, it's really
to the point where I really want it.
Yeah, it's a very, very kind of, once again, another great discovery for me from Indicator. And I like the artwork here at the front. It's like it's based off of, I don't know if it's one of their posters, but in the movie, they get a photograph done for flyers, and this is kind of like what that is.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah. It looks like a promo, like poster or something.
Yeah.
Done in almost like that old style, almost caricature type way. Yeah, I really love this movie. So next one.
Yes, and the last release from them for the month is kind of us returning back to, it seems like lately we've been getting a lot of releases from obviously the 80s and the 90s are kind of always getting recycled right now with releases and stuff. And I've been seeing a lot of this kind of genre, the sex mystery thriller
Oh.
genre, getting a lot of releases, and this is one of them. Jagged Edge.
Yeah, you throw in a little courtroom drama in there too.
Yeah, a little bit of the courtroom in there. This stars Glenn Close, and Jeffrey Bridges. Jeffrey Bridges, like he's some.
That's his proper name.
That's his proper name, but Jeff Bridges. Me and him are friends, so I just call him Jeffrey.
Clearly.
He likes to be called Jeffrey. But this is from 1985, so this is, I think, a couple years before Glenn Close does Fatal Attraction, which is kind of in the same vein, somewhat, of this movie. But as you said, this is kind of a noir. It's a neo noir, erotic thriller that basically Jeff Bridges, his wife gets murdered, and Glenn Close is taking on Jeff Bridges because he's, of course, a lot of times in these cases, the husband's the one. He's the guy.
Right.
So they're the state's deciding to go after him for the guy that killed the woman, and Glenn Close is deciding to take on the case. But in doing that, she starts to kind of like get romantically involved with him, which of course is a terrible idea.
Yep, that's a no-no.
So I've seen the movie. It's a solid movie. It's a solid, like you said, courtroom drama / thriller mystery. It's directed by Richard Marquand.
Marquand.
Who is probably mostly known for directing Return of the Jedi.
Pretty much.
Yeah. He didn't have a lot of credits in his career. He didn't do a lot. Did some TV early in his career, but for the most part, he did Return of the Jedi. He did do the movie Eye of the Needle, which is if I'm not mistaken, Donald Sutherland film. A spy movie. I think they have a release on Twilight Time from that. So maybe we'll see. I've heard that's pretty good. But other than that, this is one of his other few movies he has, and it's pretty solid. I have you seen this?
I've not. I almost watched it in leading up to this, but I decided to watch Corruption instead.
Okay.
Because I wanted after I had watched the Andre Vita films, I needed something completely different.
Yeah.
Something completely
I needed
different.
a more upper movie, so I watched the movie about the surgeon that kills people for his wife. Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't. I was gonna say it wasn't that big of an upper, but at least it was like stylistically different.
Yeah, definitely. But okay, so we got a little bit here in the sense of features. We got high definition remaster. We got original stereo audio. We have an alternative 5.1 surround soundtrack. We got an interview with writer Joe Easterhez from, I butchered that name, from 2021. Cutting Edge 2021, an interview with editor Sean Barton. We have David Hutzfeld on John Barry from 2021, an appreciation of the score by the acclaimed author and musicologist. We have the original theatrical trailer. We have a radio spot, image gallery, new and improved English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, the limited booklet with new essay by Mayland McDowell, extracts from archival interviews with director Richard Malland, a look at the making of the film, an overview of the contemporary critical responses and full film credits, UK premiere of this Blu-ray, and a limited edition 3,000 copies, Regent B locked. Is this something you may be going to pick up? Maybe, maybe not.
I'm actually very curious of it. What is interesting is that this is Richard Marquand's second to last film because he passed away in 1987 at the young age of 49.
Wow.
So that's why he doesn't have very much when it comes to movie credits because he really just started doing movies in the late 70s.
Yeah.
Before that, it's a lot of TV stuff. And like we said, like Return of the Jedi is probably his most acclaimed work. I want to see this movie. I don't know, that 1980s, going into the 90s, like sex drama, melodramas seemed to be on the rage back then.
Yeah.
It just
I
seems
mean,
to be
I think Basic
a thing.
Instinct came out like 91.
Yeah, so it was like that era, and I was trying to remember who was that director who just did his whole career was just all those movies. Because I think he did. I think he he didn't do Basic Instinct because that was obviously Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he did like Fatal Attraction. What's his name? Adrian Lin.
Okay.
That's the guy. Yes, he did movies like Indecent Proposal, Fatal Attraction, movies like that. Like that was his game. Like, I mean, like he did the 1997 remake of Lolita. I mean, we're really like he did 9.5 weeks.
He did it in Faithful. Yeah, Unfaithful is
Yeah, Unfaithful. I mean, like there's a theme running here.
Yeah, he seems to have one particular focus. But
yeah, it's like erotic movies essentially.
Yeah. So Jagged Edge, solid film. I watched it on Paramount Plus. It's on there.
Oh.
So yeah, if you really want to check it out before you buy it, it's on there if you have it. So well, that's it. That's the end of our release slate for this week. Anything else you want to add before we close it out?
No. I'm glad we did this episode because it's a ton of releases that we would have had to add to our
next week.
This
took us a little over an hour, so just imagine this on top of whatever's going to come out over the next week. Yeah.
Yeah, it would probably be an extra hour.
Yeah, it would have been tiring.
Of just us going through all of everything.
I probably would have skimped on some of this.
Yeah, well, probably not these releases, but maybe some of the other ones that are coming out.
Well, awesome. So where can we find you, Andrew?
You can find me on Twitter at Cabzilla06, as well as my YouTube channel, Cabzilla Productions.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can find me on Instagram at ChasingLabel16. That's where I post kind of like all the goodies I buy, all the movies I'm buying. And then you can find me on Chasing Labels on Letterboxd, which is where you can keep up with what I'm watching. You can find the audio for this podcast on Podbean and Apple Podcasts. Thank you once again for listening, and hey, keep on buying them movies.
I know I will.